Hey guys, Justin Bryant here from selfmadesuccess.com. In this video, I'm going to show you my summary and some notes, lessons learned, things like that from the 4-Hour Workweek book. This is an incredible book, had a big impact on me. I did a review of what it covers as far as the basic principles and things like that, what the chapter breakdown is, who this book is for, who it's not. So you can check out the review of this book if you want to see that stuff and whether or not you should read it or not. But I'm going to show you in this book, or in this video, just 10 lessons learned, 10 interesting strategies that Tim Ferriss, the author of this book, talks about in the 4-Hour Workweek. So the first thing is it's about productivity and not work. So are you being productive or are you being just busy? This is something that he tells us we should put a post-it note on our computer. We should have a reminder on our phone. We need to do whatever we can to constantly be asking ourselves if we're being productive or if we're just being busy, because there's a big difference. If you spend a lot of time organizing your desk instead of making that blog post or making that video or selling something to a customer, you may be working technically, but you're not being productive. You're not making money. You're not doing something that's going to earn you something that day. So as kind of a reminder, because if you read the 4-Hour Workweek, he talks about reminding yourself of this all the time and how it will make you so much more productive. As a reminder, what I did is I created an actual desktop background that you can use. I'll have a place where you can download it and save it as an image and make it your desktop background. I'm actually currently using this right now. I just created it as a great reminder. I'm a big believer in quotes. I'm a big believer in just, short sentences that can remind you or make you think about something. And I believe this is one of the best ways to just keep that productive mindset on your work computer. So you can get this at selfmadesuccess.com. I'll have this available for you. You can just download it there or save it as an image, whatever you want to do. And if you set that as your desktop background, you won't have to put that post-it note on there or anything. It'll just be there when you start up your computer and you'll instantly get in that productive mode. But that's something you have to always be thinking about. That's a big theme in the 4-Hour Workweek. Number 2, you need to use the 80-20 rule. So this comes down to the Pareto principle, which basically states that 20% of what you do gets 80% of results. So a few examples of this, you'll notice if you read the Wikipedia page, you'll get to see some of the studies that Vilfredo Pareto, the founder of this principle, got this from. So he got it from, 80% of your sales come from 20% of clients. And pea pods, you can notice this picture of pea pods over here. He noticed that 20% of the pea pods in his garden contained 80% of the peas. So it's just another example. Also, for many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. That's just how basically things work. In many cases, it's even more extreme when you look at different things like wealth, even. If you look at, he noticed here, if you look in economics on this page, he noticed that 80% of Italy's land was owned by 20% of the population. So just different things like that. And if you notice that this mathematically applies to just about everything, you can apply it to your business. And so you want to basically see what is something that needs to be improved in your life. For instance, this book is a lot about productivity and spending less time working while making more and enjoying your life. So what 20% of actions are you taking that make 80% of the money you make? Now, this is especially applicable if you have your own business. Now, if you have a job even, most of the time, employees are not working the entire 8 hours or 10 hours or however long they're at work. They're only working on specific things that make most of the money for the company. So you can even negotiate with your boss, and he shows you ways to do that to make yourself more productive, making the company more money, and negotiating a way to maybe work from home more or make your job more enjoyable. So find ways to apply the Pareto principle. Another thing he did is he got rid of 80% of the headaches that his clients were costing him when he was running Brain Quicken. And Brain Quicken was a supplement company, and a lot of these customers were always complaining about different things or were just giving him a hard time, and so he cut them off. He realized that 20% of his customers made 80% of his money, so he focused on people like that. There's a few ways that this can be misapplied, though, and that is covered in this lifehack.org article. And one of the things is, I'll have a link to this page for you so you can read the whole thing, but you'll notice that it never really adds up completely to 100%, and it's never the exact numbers. So you can't just assume that it'll be exactly 20% is causing exactly 80%. Sometimes it's 10% is causing 90. Sometimes it's 5% is causing 75 or something like that. It's not always the exact math. You can't just assume everything is exact math and that 80% and the 20% add up to the exact total. So you can just kind of look into this, and it's not going to be perfect numbers. It's going to be something you have to test, and it has to be something you really look into. But he talks about some of the different things that are misapplied when it comes to the 80-20 rule. And at the bottom, he talks about how to really use the 80-20 rule, which basically talks about picking an area of your life with the biggest imbalance, whether it's relationships, health, money, time, identifying the key 10, 20, or 40% of inputs that are creating most of your results. Emphasize the key percentage. So figure out what exactly it is that is causing most of your results. How can you eliminate the other stuff? Spend more time on those activities. In other words, find related activities like that 10% or 20% that's getting your results. And then you eliminate the rest. So just something to keep in mind. You need to use the 80-20 rule to be more productive. Number 3, emphasize your strengths instead of weaknesses. So you need to figure out what you're good at, or as Dave Ramsey puts it in this short blog post, is actually pretty well put, I think. He talks about how effectively you do something, how it can make you feel strong in an area or make you feel weak in an area when you do something. So instead of just focusing on what you're good at, even if you're good at something, Ramsey states that it may not make you feel like you're strong in that area. It might make you feel weak in that area, even if you're good at it. So maybe you just don't like doing it. And I'll have a link to this page for you. But as far as finding what it is you're good at, or maybe what your strengths are and your weaknesses, there's a test that you might want to take, just kind of a fun little test that will give you an idea of maybe how well you work with others, how flexible you are, how well you adapt to different situations, how you kind of think about different things, how well you work with others, how responsible you are, and it could give you an idea of what kind of career or business you should have. So I'll have a link to this page for you, but you'll get to see it's on 3smartcubes.com, but it's basically a career test. And it has 30 questions. You'll see some of these like different situational questions. Then you go to the next page, and it gives you 3 different options for each question. So I'll have a link to this page. You can take this test, and it will help you figure out maybe what your strengths are and what you might want to pursue based on your answers to those questions. But you need to build your strengths and stop trying to fix your weaknesses, because you'll end up wasting too much time and you'll give away your edge that you originally had over your competition by not going after your strengths. Number 4, in the 4-hour work week, he says to stop trying to compete with everyone at the same thing. So make your own niche and dominate it. This comes back to the big fish, small pond instead of small fish, big pond. Or you can just create your own pond. So what Tim Ferriss did, which is very interesting, is instead of doing like a start an online business or how to be more productive and just going after that, he basically kind of combined different things and then created a whole new name for it so that he could dominate it and he would be the authority in his own niche that he created. And then he went and got a few diehard fans to kind of spread the news about his brand. That's what he did with the 4-hour work week. So if you go to the Google Keyword Planner, for instance, you can put in like start an online business, for instance. You got high competition. Quite a few people are interested in this. Thousands of people search for it a month, but it's not something without competition. You would have to compete with, say, entrepreneur.com, Business Insider, and some of these other ones. But what Tim Ferriss did is instead of going after that, he created a new niche where he combined health and he combined productivity and combined business. And he called it lifestyle design. If I could type, that would be great. Okay, so lifestyle design. Now you click get ideas and you'll notice what comes up. It's low competition. Average monthly searches is less, but look at the top keyword by relevance. The 4-hour work week. What else? Dreamline. Dreamline is something he goes over in the 4-hour work week. How to take your dreams and how to plan them out so they become real. 4-hour work week again. So if you go down here, you'll notice that basically he created an entire niche. And the 4-hour work week, his name Tim Ferriss, comes up all throughout the related keywords because he created his own niche. And it's actually fascinating in my opinion, but instead of trying to compete with all the people that have been around for years in a niche or in an industry, find ways that you can create your own, find a way to name it, talk about that. Like some have even kind of been spin-offs of the lifestyle design now. Like now we have Life Hack or Life Hacker and people like that, which is basically the same thing. But he is still basically the founder of this niche. So you kind of look into what can you do to create your own niche like that. Number 5, he talks about how successful people try to improve income per hour, not total income. So obviously your total income matters, especially when you're paying bills. You got a house, you got a car, a family. But you shouldn't allow yourself to work more hours to improve your income. In other words, the whole point of the 4-hour work week, why it's called the 4-hour work week, is so you can work less per week and make more and be efficient about it. So if you got hit by a bus, this is kind of an example he would give you. If you got hit by a bus or something terrible happened, you had a heart attack, whatever, and you could only work 2 hours per week, what would you have to do? So think about that question. If something terrible happened and you could work 2 hours a week only, what would you have to do to run your business, to make the income you need, and figure out a way to do it? You had a gun to your head. There's no other way to get around it. You only have 2 hours per week. What would you do? So he goes and uses that example in the book. And you'll notice that that's one of the big things that he talks about. So work less, achieve more by working on your per hour business instead of just adding more hours to make more. Number 6, use a low information diet, focusing only on highest quality inputs. So another thing you want to do is you don't want to take in bad information. You don't want to take in a bunch of news all the time. This is something he talks about a lot. So I have an article here. I'm going to show you some of the ways that I have applied this to my life after reading this book and where I get inputs from. And I only have a few places that I really focus on. So one is books. Obviously, I've read The 4-Hour Workweek. I've read Think and Grow Rich. I've read Money Master the Game. I've read Psycho-Cybernetics, The Science of Getting Rich, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, Rich Dad Poor Dad. All of these great books. And I've put together a list of some of the best books that I think every entrepreneur should read. These are the books that I recommend to you that you can learn so much from and that can help you get to where you want to go and learn a lot about business, about finances, about productivity, about willpower, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to learn those types of things, this is a place where you can find those types of books. But books are going to have a lot higher quality information than any blog or news site or television show. So those are the types of books I read. Podcast. I'm a big fan of the Tim Ferriss Show. Not because I just loved his book, and I did love his book, but because he has some of the most interesting guests on his show. Instead of just having, celebrities and stuff like that, he has chess champions, he has MMA fighters, he has actors like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Foxx, he has different scientists, he has people who are experts in training dogs, he has all kinds of people that are just good at what they do. Whatever they do, they're good at it, and they get on the Tim Ferriss Show and he breaks down and asks them questions about why they're good at what they do and what their tips are and what tools they use and things like that. So the Tim Ferriss Show is a great podcast. Another great podcast is The Journal by Kevin Rose. That's a great one to listen to. He's actually one of the big friends, one of the best friends, I think, of Tim Ferriss, and you can check him out on SoundCloud. He's also on, iTunes and those other places, but his podcast is great. And another one, TED Talks. Those are YouTube videos. Now you can also get like a TED Talks app and watch videos there. But TED Talks is a lot of experts in a lot of different areas that talk about very interesting subjects. So you have people who talk about artificial intelligence. They talk about coming up with ways to create clean water around the world. They come up with ways to do clean energy. They come up with ways to help relationships. They do life hacks. They do social problems, politics, science, all kinds of different things are talked about. And those are some of the sources of inputs that I focus on. Things like TED Talks, these top podcasts from very smart, interesting people that interview interesting people, and books. Those are some of the best places to get your information from. Don't focus too much on news. He talks about how your friends and family will always update you on the most important news when big things happen, but it's not your job to always be looking into constant information all the time. Number 7, your business shouldn't be as large as possible. But it should leave you alone as much as possible is the whole point. So the 4-hour work week, you want to work 4 hours per week or something like that. You don't want your business to be a public company that's worth billions of dollars with 1,000 employees and, stockholders and all this stuff. You would just have too much time that you would have to spend managing the company. But you can create an online business, for instance, like a muse, which is what he calls it. And it would allow you to basically collect passive income where you would only have to work check email and things like that a couple times a week or even a month, and that would be the extent of your management of your business. So that's what you want. You want to make things as easy as possible. You want to automate them. So few things that you can do. For instance, you can have automatic email responses. When you start being successful, you're going to have a lot of people emailing you. Even if you have employees, of course, you're going to have a lot of emails. So he has a page here on the Tim Ferriss blog, which is at tim.blog, and he has a few templates that will allow you to automatically deal with emails. And he talks about giving assistants, giving employees the freedom to, make different decisions on their own. If the cost is less than $500 or something like that, don't even consult him as the owner. He talks about how he only checks email, once a week or so, and this is what to do if there's an emergency. Otherwise, handle it yourself. So he has these automatic responses you can use. I'll have a link to that page for you. But also you can outsource and delegate. So we'll kind of get more into that. But you need to delegate anything you can with, say, a virtual assistant firm or other freelancers and people like that. Now, the thing about a virtual assistant firm like Brickwork India, that's one of the ones that he used and recommends in the book, The 4-Hour Workweek. The thing about a firm is if something happens or your virtual assistant gets sick or something, they have somebody who can back them up and take care of your work. Otherwise, if you just use somebody who's a lone worker, then if something happens to them, it can really hurt your business, and you might have to just get back into doing the day-to-day grind or find someone else. So Upwork is a great place to find virtual assistants, or you can do a firm like Brickwork India. It's going to be cheaper if you use people overseas, but the language barrier is a thing, and you may not, whether you trust them or not is up to you, of course. Brickwork India has gotten a lot of experience, and they've had a big name for themselves as far as, through the 4-Hour Workweek and through some of these other things where they've gotten a lot of awards for their great service. But as far as outsourcing goes, you might want to get a firm and use virtual assistants. So if you want to kind of narrow down what needs to be outsourced or what you need to do, this chart was mentioned in the book, and it's called, it's not really called anything. The newlyrich.com kind of put together this list, which is great, but that website isn't around anymore. But what it does is it allows you to figure out what you should do, what kind of activities you should deal with, and what you should eliminate from your life. So one thing, will I enjoy this? If yes, do it, put it in the calendar, get it done, go enjoy it. If you won't enjoy that activity, does it generate income? If yes, then the next thing you need to do is figure out if you can outsource it. So if you can, you get assistance from your virtual assistants. Okay? And also, does it have an obligation? So if it's not income generating, if it doesn't entertain you or allow you to enjoy it, do you have an obligation? If yes, outsource it if possible. If not, just do it yourself. But if it doesn't bring you entertainment, if it doesn't generate income and there's no obligation to do it, you just eliminate it. So this chart, definitely helpful. I always recommend looking at this chart when you're trying to make a decision on what you should do. Number 9, take mini retirements instead of waiting until you're old. So another thing Tim Ferriss talks about is, should you wait until you're 65 or 70 to retire, and then you're old and you can't really get around and you can't do anything by the time you're actually going to have the time to do anything? So instead, he recommends mini retirements where you actually can save money and enjoy it while you're younger by traveling the world, Some of the things he talks about are actually living for a few weeks or a few months at a time in the places you want to travel to, because it's actually cheaper than staying in a hotel for a few days, where you can stay in an apartment, a really nice apartment, for a month in that city. Like Buenos Aires, Argentina, for instance, is one of the ones he mentions. Rolf Potts, he got this from, and he's written a book called Vagabonding and How to Travel the World. Here's the book right here: How to Travel the World long term, and you can actually save money and things like that. And it's actually been updated. Tim Ferriss now does the foreword for it, but he recommends this book all the time as a big influence on the 4-Hour Workweek. So I recommend you read this. And this is all about the travel side of the 4-Hour Workweek and how to live kind of a mobile lifestyle. But there's some great tips in this video and this blog post here. I'll have a link to it for you on Tim's blog. But Rolf Potts talks about how your time equals your wealth, how experiences make you happier than buying more products for yourself, and how travel can really be therapeutic and bring you a lot of joy, and how it's not as expensive as you may think it is. But the 4-Hour Workweek covers a lot of great tools, a lot of websites you can use to be more efficient with your travel and things like that. Number 10, you can get your most important task done before 11 a.m. and you can pretty much call the day a success, no matter what comes up the rest of the day. If you do this, you can't use lunch as an excuse and put things off. If you do this, you will be much more productive. A question you should ask yourself is, if I could only do one thing today, what would that be to make today a success? So figure that out and get that one thing done before anything else happens that day, before you work out, before you go eat lunch, before you have to run errands, before you have to pick your kids up from school, before you start playing video games or watching movies. Whatever it is that you're going to have to do later in the day, make sure this is done before lunchtime, and you can call it a productive day. So that's the main thing. Just have those small wins every day, and you'll make more and more money and be more and more productive. A book that I recommend that I've read about this is called Eat That Frog by Bryant Tracy, and it's called 21 Great Ways to Stop Procrastinating and Get More Done in Less Time. And this is the main thing that he covers in this book, is getting your biggest stuff done first before anything else, and eliminating procrastination from your life to be more productive. So that's just a few things I've learned in the 4-Hour Workweek. I have actually 26 pages of notes from this book. That is how powerful I found this book to be. I think it's a 400-page book or so. And the thing is, you need to read it yourself to make your own notes, to really get out of it what you can only get out of it. Everyone else is going to interpret books differently, so I can give you lessons, but you need to read it yourself. I definitely recommend you go get it at Amazon. And there's just so much more that I didn't even get to, but it would take me 12 videos to get through all of the things I learned from this book. So a lot of this stuff will help you, but there's a lot more that I didn't even get to cover yet. So go read the book, check it out, listen to the audiobook, however you want to consume it, get it. And if you want to check out any of his other books, if you're really a fan of Tim Ferriss, you're a fan of his podcast, his 4-Hour Workweek book, he has 3 other books now. One is the 4-Hour Body, which is about basically becoming a superhuman, helping you with sleep, helping you with relationships, intimate relationships, helping you with fat loss, helping you with muscle building, dieting, and all that kind of stuff. Basically, life hacking your way to a better body. The 4-Hour Chef is all about how to cook like a pro and also how to learn everything. It's basically how he puts it, a book on learning disguised as a cookbook. So it will really help you learn how to find new skills and learn them quickly, as well as learn how to cook. And Tools of Titans, where he talks about the tactics, routines, and habits of billionaires, icons, and world-class performers. Basically, everything he's ever learned from doing his podcast and interviewing all these successful people, he puts in one book. So, how could you not like this book? So other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe so I can create more videos like this for you. And if there's anything you want to let me know about, maybe what you learned from the 4-hour work week, or what you thought about the video, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I'm always looking for feedback to improve these videos for you. And I'll have all of the show notes, related content, and links to this video on one page at selfmadesuccess.com for you. And you can find that there or find it in the video description. So other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day.